And welcome back to the Conservative News Channel on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get started on today's video, I wanted to preface this video with a couple of statements. First, QAnon, everybody's heard of him, everybody knows. Some people hate him, some people love him. But even if he was a LARP, even if it wasn't true, what he's brought to the attention of the world is the fact that there is a cabal. Some call it the Illuminati, some call it, in America, it's the deep state. And they are very prevalent everywhere in American government and, in fact, in world government. In fact, if we think we've got it bad here, look at the riots in Europe. Look at the leadership that they have that could care absolutely less about the people, and it's just whatever the cabal wants, the cabal gets. Those are the people that the cabal wants to put in charge of the free world. I don't particularly want to be taken over by Germany's Angela Merkel. She is a monster. She does not care about her people. That's why she is no longer in charge of her party. But before I go too far into that, let's talk about what's going on in America and the problems that Donald Trump faces. At the same time, we have Hillary Clinton. Although it looks like we're headed towards some type of prosecution there, we're not sure yet until the charges are filed. Right now, they are filing charges against minions and collecting information, and that makes a lot of sense. Before you go after an ex-senator or a sitting president or an ex-president, you make sure you get every possible duck in a line. Now, what I want to talk about today is the deep state's war on Donald Trump. Obviously, Robert Mueller, is the head of that war. You would think that if they were going to pick a special prosecutor, they would pick a special prosecutor that has a very clean slate, that is above reproach. And yet, Robert Mueller wrongfully convicted and imprisoned 4 men for a crime they did not commit. I should also point out that they were given the death penalty, and 2 of the 4 were never released because they did die in jail. If you come down, what you'll quickly find out, there's the name, Whitey Bulger. As you're all familiar, he is a notorious crime member, and he has killed an awful lot of people. And what it turns out is Whitney Bulger decided to turn FBI state's evidence if they would leave him alone and let him run his empire. And what he was doing was just taking crimes that he committed, and he was assigning them to people that he wanted out of the way. There are no telling how many people have been wrongfully convicted by this man, Robert Mueller. Now let's take a look at what's going on with the president. First of all, we all know that he hasn't come up with anything regarding collusion with Russia because there is none. But he's been getting convictions, and the left is constantly giving the body count of convictions that he has racked up. Well, let's take a look at this. First thing, you've got Manafort, who all of the real crimes that he committed were long before he ever got involved with Trump and the Trump campaign. Everything else has just been lying to the FBI. In other words, forced crimes. And when I say forced, I mean forced, and I'm going to prove it to you. So first of all, we've got General Flynn that is going up for sentencing. General Flynn should not be going up for sentencing. In fact, the judge, looking at what he could see when he was trying to determine what's a fair punishment, then requested for Robert Mueller's office the FBI's 302 documents on Flynn, and what's slowly being discovered is that Flynn was ambushed. As you can see here, Mueller turned over 302s to the judge that were 6 months after the charges. They've also appear to have been doctored, and the judge cannot look at the original 302 because somehow or another it has come up missing. Now, you would think that anyone going after the president would be above board, everything would be done by the book, and that way there would be no questions as to the reliability of the final findings in the report. And yet, what we're seeing throughout Mueller's convictions is that he is putting ultra-high pressure trying to get people to lie. He does not care about the truth. As we continue moving on, you'll see Mueller's filing confirms General Flynn was set up. FBI agents did not believe Flynn was lying. Now, if you'll remember, when Flynn pleaded guilty to lying, he said that he could not afford the legal fees, and in fact, he was going to lose his home. That's the only reason he said he was not going to go to court. The judge, however, apparently understands this. Now, General Flynn, which tells you he was set up, he was first asked not to bring his lawyer, and he took the FBI agents through the White House on a tour, laughing and joking, and had no idea he was actually being interrogated. That is a setup, ladies and gentlemen. If he was under investigation before this interview took place, it was his constitutional right to be informed that that investigation was taking place, and he could have chosen to have an attorney and or waive it. But he didn't, because he didn't know what was coming. We get to the next headline, and you see Michael Flynn sentencing memo further proves Flynn was ambushed by the FBI, was not told to have his lawyer present. We get to the next headline. Stunning! Mueller did not release original Flynn 302 publicly today. He released a 302 from 6 months after the interview. The original report is missing. If you go on to read, you'll find out that this later 302 is also been doctored. Another article talking to the FBI agents that interviewed him said he didn't lie. So how is it Mueller was pushing him for a conviction on lying when the agents that did the interview said he wasn't lying? Now the judge puts Mueller under a microscope after alleged FBI misconduct explodes. This is incredible, ladies and gentlemen. This is supposed to be the best that this country can offer to get to the truth. And yet what we're seeing more and more as he actually takes these people to sentencing is that he has been forcing errors and convicting them, then putting huge pressure with long jail sentence promises unless they lie and make up the information that he wants regarding the Russians. He's not concerned with the truth. He's only concerned with an outcome. How the Senate, Democrats and Republicans, can allow this man to continue, I have no idea, but he is obviously one of the most crooked people on the face of the earth. If you'll remember in one of my other videos, I told you about this man. He was the one that delivered the uranium samples to the Russians for Hillary Clinton. If that, all by itself, does not disqualify him from being here, how is he going to investigate Hillary Clinton and or himself for Russian collusion? Of course he's not. This is absolutely ridiculous. It angers me just going through all these headlines. There's also a document that Mueller has seen that will exonerate General Flynn, but he's refusing to give it to the judge, withheld it from the court, doing everything he can to stop that document from being declassified and released. This is saying, I know the man's innocent, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that he's one of my guilty guys. My God, he's a criminal. Now, there's been another individual who's had the same treatment as Flynn, but apparently he has the money to fight back. And in fact, he's just slapped a $350 million lawsuit on Mueller's office for the ridiculous tactics that he's using trying to achieve a guilty. The man basically said, I am not going to sign, I am not going to lie. Now, another interesting thing. The cell phone that was turned over to the Inspector General was wiped, and 20K of pages had disappeared of Strozik. This is Mueller's office committing crimes to protect people in the FBI. from any possible wrongdoing charges. Well, unfortunately for them, the Inspector General somehow managed to recover the 20,000 previously lost Strozic pages, and now they know everything that's been discussed, everything that we've seen in the media. The originals had vanished, but they're now back. The cell phone with all the text back and forth that we had originally seen in the media have been wiped by Mueller's office. The phone was reset. I hope someone in their forensic department can recover everything and get that information back. But what in God's name is Mueller doing destroying evidence in the middle of an ongoing investigation? And what's funny is he's pressing innocent people to plead guilty to stupid lying crimes. At the same time, he's throwing away information that proves FBI and DOJ agents colluded to go after Trump and label him with a false narrative, and that false narrative being collusion. Ladies and gentlemen, the deep state is alive and well, and when QAnon says it's there, you don't need his word for it. It can be seen all the way around the world. Right here, take a look at Trump. The media is trying to paint the decline in the market as though it had something to do with tariffs, and yet China has capitulated on tariffs. China is going to drop the tariff on automobiles from 40% to 15%. It's been announced by them. Also, they've bought like 50 million tons of soybeans this week, which means they are softening to Trump. Today, when they released their economic numbers and they came in low, you know what they said? Our economy has been hurt by the tariffs, and we are going to do whatever we can to take care of this, to get the economy back up. So don't let the media and the deep state convince you that Trump isn't winning. He is winning, and he's winning in a big way for the American people. Think of it this way. Under Obama, we lost 250,000 manufacturing jobs. Under Donald Trump, we're on our way to 400,000 manufacturing jobs created. Sounds to me like a winner. He said we're going to make America great again, and by God, he's doing it. So let's stand behind him. Let's not let the deep state attacks do anything to shake our love for a president that we all know we needed right now. The rest of the world is screaming for their Donald Trump. Let's hope they find him, and let's get rid of these scumbags around the world once and for all. Ladies and gentlemen, with that said, I hope you'll take the time to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.